Imagine that you're about to give the biggest presentation of your life. You're in full-blown panic mode. Your heart's racing, your palms are sweaty, and you're shaking like a leaf. Now imagine that two pills sit in front of you, both promising to help you get a grip on your pre-performance anxiety and enable you to think clearly and confidently. On the left, you have Propranolol, and on the right, Xanax. Which one do you reach for? By the time you reach the end of this video, you'll have a solid answer to that question, because we are going to explain why you get performance anxiety in the first place, how both Propranolol and Xanax work to fight against anxiety, and what the downsides and side effects of both medications are. We'll even go over some natural alternatives to both drugs if you stay until the end of the video. All of that should help you finally answer that question. Which one is best for anxiety purposes? Xanax or Propranolol? Why do we experience performance anxiety in the first place? Picture the situation. You're prepping to give a career-defining presentation. You're standing backstage, sweaty palms, knees weak, arms heavy, etc., etc. But why are you freaking out so much? There's no physical danger here, not really. It's just you, a stage, and an audience. Well, what you're experiencing is an ancient bodily response to a threatening situation. It's your body's fight or flight response kicking into high gear. And sure, the threat is only perceived, or completely in our minds, as there's no significant threat to our life. But the brain responds in the same way to the threat of speaking in front of a large crowd, as it might when our cavemen ancestors were facing down a wild animal on the savannas. The brain floods our system with stress hormones, namely adrenaline and cortisol, putting us into an alert state, ready to run or fight for our lives. Considering how complex the brain is, it's fascinating how in a situation like this, the brain cannot differentiate between facing down a wild animal where our life is at risk and facing a room full of colleagues or friends. The reaction is the same. Our heart rate ramps up, sweating increases, and your senses sharpen. For some, public speaking can produce even stronger physical responses than activities we'd consider genuinely dangerous, like skydiving or bungee jumping. So now the physical symptoms of performance anxiety are kicking in due to the overflow of adrenaline and cortisol being released into your body. This actually creates a feedback loop where you notice your increased heart rate, sweaty palms, and other symptoms, and that awareness makes you more anxious, causing your heart to race even faster, and anxiety increases, and on and on. All this means that it is an exaggerated stress response, leading to a flood of stress hormones like adrenaline into your system that causes all of the performance anxiety symptoms. Now that we've made that clear, let's look at how Propranolol and Xanax combat these symptoms and find out which one is better at doing so. How does Propranolol work against performance anxiety? Propranolol is the highest prescribed beta blocker medication in America. It's available under the brand name Inderal in the US. Beta blockers have the full name beta-adrenergic blocking agents because they work by blocking the effects of adrenergic hormones, such as adrenaline. Doctors typically prescribe beta blockers to treat various heart conditions like high blood pressure, irregular heartbeat, and angina or chest pains. Beta blockers help with these cardiovascular issues by blocking the release of adrenaline hormones into the system, and as adrenaline typically produces an elevated heart rate, blocking it results in a reduction in stress on the heart and overall lower blood pressure. Propranolol blocking the release of the adrenaline hormone is also what makes it so effective against performance anxiety symptoms, as less adrenaline means no increased heart rate, less profuse sweating, a reduction in racing thoughts, etc., etc. Propranolol results can be pretty impressive if taken properly and with the correct dosage. In one study looking at musicians, Propranolol significantly reduced performance anxiety symptoms and even improved the quality of their performances. It's no wonder that many performers consider Propranolol to be their secret weapon against stage fright and performance fears. One of the major advantages of Propranolol is how quickly it works. The effects can usually be felt pretty quickly, and many people we've consulted and work with take propranolol about 30 minutes prior to whatever situation they need it for, making it a good option for those last-minute jitters before a big event. And while propranolol and beta blockers in general are considered to be relatively safe when only used occasionally, there are some downsides and side effects. The major one is, of course, the risk of reliance on the drug in order to manage difficult situations in future, which is why only occasional usage is recommended. And there are other limitations and potential side effects, with some people experiencing dizziness, fatigue, vivid or restless dreams, and nausea when using propranolol. People with certain heart conditions or breathing problems like asthma shouldn't use the drug either. So while propranolol can be undeniably effective for performance anxiety, it is considered an off-label use. This means it isn't officially approved by the FDA specifically for treating anxiety disorders. Using it for this purpose requires a thorough discussion with a healthcare professional about the potential risks and benefits. Propranolol can be a powerful tool in the fight against performance anxiety, but it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all solution. Now, let's turn our attention to a different class of medications that takes a very different approach to calming your nerves. How does Xanax work against performance anxiety? Xanax is an anti-anxiety medication that's part of the benzodiazepine family. This is the same class of medications that includes diazepam or Valium, clonazepam or Klonopin, lorazepam or Ativan, flurazepam or Dalmane, and others. The FDA approved Xanax all the way back in October 1981, and Xanax, alongside all of the other benzodiazepine medications, are known for their rapid effects, often kicking in within minutes to hours after taking them. This makes benzos particularly useful for situational anxiety, like the jitters before a big performance. Benzos like Xanax act on the brain and central nervous system to produce a calming effect. Xanax, in particular, slows down the movement of brain chemicals that may have become unbalanced, resulting in a reduction in nervous tension and anxiety. Xanax does this by boosting the effects of a natural chemical called gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, which is a neurotransmitter in the brain. The felt effect is like turning down the volume on your anxiety. The effectiveness of benzodiazepines like Xanax for anxiety is well documented at this point. Studies show that benzos can significantly reduce anxiety symptoms in the short term. Research has actually found that for panic disorder, benzodiazepines work just as well as propranolol in treating panic attacks. However, powerful anxiety-busting drugs like Xanax do come with some serious cautions. Long-term use can lead to physical and mental dependence, and stopping usage abruptly can cause severe withdrawal symptoms. In some cases, the withdrawal effects of Xanax can even be life-threatening. It is also worth noting that Xanax is not considered safe for several groups of people, including those who have an allergy to other benzodiazepines, including diazepam and lorazepam, have a history of liver disease or kidney disease, have a personal or family history of substance abuse, have a history of glaucoma, or those who are pregnant or currently nursing. It is incredibly important to consult with a healthcare professional to determine if any prescription medication like Xanax is right for you. When speaking to them, make sure that you provide them with a full list of other medications and supplements that you are taking, as negative drug interactions with Xanax are possible. And finally, there's also the risk of tolerance buildup to Xanax, meaning you might need higher and higher doses over time to get the same calming effect. If you are considering using Xanax, be very careful and speak with qualified medical professionals first. It's just not worth the risks otherwise. With all that said, out of propranolol and Xanax, which is better for combating your performance anxiety? Propranolol versus Xanax. Which one is better for performance anxiety? Xanax and the benzo family of drugs have a well-established tranquilizing effect, and therefore have been used to treat anxiety disorders, agitation, muscle spasms, and many other conditions for nearly 6 decades. The beta blocker propranolol had the original purpose of treating patients with high blood pressure, hypertension, and various heart issues. So while there is some overlap in what these medications can be used for, the differences between Xanax and propranolol can really be summarized into three main areas. Number 1. Xanax targets the brain, while propranolol targets the heart. The main difference between Xanax and propranolol becomes more clear when we consider how the drugs work. Xanax targets the brain and central nervous system, whereas propranolol targets the cardiovascular system. Xanax mostly has a psychoactive impact, while propranolol mostly influences you physically, even though the act of taking a beta blocker in itself does have a reassuring psychological effect. Number 2. Propranolol is more suited for one-off use, while Xanax fits medium-term treatment. Propranolol has an effect on the body that is, plainly, more straightforward and doesn't require rewiring the brain. It only takes 30 to 60 minutes after taking propranolol to yield the desired effect. This makes it very useful for the performance anxiety that might come before a single event, like an important presentation, or delivering a public speech or taking a critical exam. In contrast, Xanax is more often prescribed for medium-term treatment, ranging from several weeks to 4 months, in order to tackle more serious anxiety disorders. This is because it can take several days or weeks for Xanax to reach its maximum effect. Additionally, at the end of the treatment period, the drug can't be abruptly stopped, but needs to be gradually phased out in order to avoid withdrawal-related side effects. Number 3. Xanax can be addictive, and there's a serious risk of abuse. Xanax does have a long track record and, in general, is considered safe as long as it's used in the short to medium term and in the doses prescribed by a doctor. However, if used for longer than a few months, there is a high risk of forming an addictive habit with Xanax, where the body physically craves the medication. Benzodiazepine abuse is a widespread problem, which is why the more potent variations are banned in many countries. Benzodiazepine overdose can be fatal, and the risk of overdose is higher when combined with other drugs. In contrast, propranolol hasn't been found to cause addiction, even after long-term use. Pinpointing which of these two medications is best for managing performance anxiety requires a personalized approach. Working with a health professional will be key to finding the right solution for you. Your doctor should consider your medical history, the type of anxiety, and current medications to weigh the potential risks and benefits of each option. When choosing between propranolol and Xanax, your doctor might recommend propranolol for physical symptoms like a racing heart or shaky hands, especially in specific situations like public speaking. Xanax might be suggested for broader anxiety relief or panic attacks, assuming its use doesn't pose a serious risk to your health. An alternative performance anxiety solution: PerformZen. At this point, it makes sense for me to tell you about our very own performance anxiety supplement called PerformZen. PerformZen is an all-natural supplement specifically designed to help performers and anyone regularly facing high anxiety situations to stay calm under pressure while even giving you a slight mental edge. Many of our customers have used benzos like Xanax and beta blockers like propranolol in the past, and after finding out about PerformZen, we became an extremely effective natural replacement to all of those prescription drugs used for anxiety in the past. So if you're interested in finding out more about PerformZen, learn all about the natural supplement at PerformZen.com. If you liked this video, click that subscribe button and make sure you drop a like and comment below. We'd love to hear your experiences with Xanax and propranolol in the comments, so please share. And you can also check out one of these other videos from the channel. We have some great resources if you're struggling with anxiety, phobias, or stage fright and performing. Until next time, break a leg.